Walter Wink, in his book Naming the Powers, notes that the early church began from the pole of steadfastness in prayer and the refusal of idolatry, manifesting that hypomone, that is, steadfast endurance, which the book of Revelation regards as the highest Christian virtue. The author adds that this teaching is best exemplified by Revelation 13, verse 10. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. Wink also notes that the Greek, usually somewhat limply rendered as patient endurance, is in fact closer to absolute intransigence, unbending determination, and iron will, the capacity to endure persecution, torture, and death without yielding one's faith. It is one of the fundamental attributes of nonviolent resistance. For further proof, Wink notes the Little Scott Greek-English lexicon, which renders the word as the power to sustain blows or the power to endure. Other scholars note that in some manuscripts of Revelation 13, verse 10, this phrase is added: if anyone will kill with the sword, it is necessary for him to be killed with the sword. The noted Greek grammarian Bill Mounce, in the New International Commentary on the New Testament, says this corresponds to the words of Jesus in Matthew 26:52. All who draw the sword will die by the sword. The first couplet would teach that the believer must accept what God has ordained, and the second would warn against any attempt on the part of the church to defend itself by the use of force. William Barclay writes, "It is an intolerable paradox to defend the gospel of the love of God by using the violence of man." The conclusion, therefore, is that there is need for endurance and faith on the part of Christ's people. When the impending persecution breaks upon the church, believers will need to meet it with steadfast endurance and an unwavering faith. John's warnings about the perils that faced God's people serve to prepare them for the difficult days that lay ahead. At the close of the age, it will be to the church's advantage to be fully informed of the increased activity of Satan, Revelation 12, verses 12 and 17. The view that God will remove his people from the suffering of those days creates a faulty expectation that will work against their need for patient endurance and faithfulness. This is a good last point by Mounce against the so-called pre-tribulation rapture view. Yarbrough Collins' article, The Political Perspective of the Revelation to John, succinctly summarizes the highest Christian virtue according to the book of Revelation. The readers are not to take up arms in active resistance, not even in the final battle. Rather, they are to endure persecution, including death, and to hope for ultimate salvation.